Love is a beautiful thing. We would sacrifice everything we got for people we love. Our time, our money, our health. We would do it all for love. Love is like an infinite source of life force. It keeps you going and makes you happy. Loving people or being in love is better than any sports car, any mansion, any career. It's one of the most fulfilling things a person can have. When someone lacks love, or at least feels like they do, it can end up in a lot of bad things. Mass shootings, suicide, poor mental health, and habits. It's ironic how we would sacrifice everything for a person we love, but not for ourselves. Carl Jung says that loving ourselves is a harder task than loving others. It's easy to love others, but it's hard to love yourself. So how can you love yourself? Well, this is how I did it, at least. Section 1. Why you hate yourself. Hate comes from rejection. Rejection either from like an internal standpoint or an external standpoint, meaning that you or something outside of you didn't accept something about yourself, causing self-hatred. Let's take family. This is probably a common one. Family rejecting your feelings by telling you to stop crying, stop being a bitch, man up, and it makes you believe that you shouldn't express your emotions. They rejected you in a sense by not accepting your emotions, which makes you feel unworthy of feeling emotions. When you pair that feeling of unworthiness with the actual repression of the emotion itself, you have a long history of self-loathing and self-hatred. Now, this is an external example. There's many more external examples. This is just the first one that popped up in my mind, where it's something outside of you that causes the self-hatred. In this case, it's the family members, right? It's your family members, something outside of you. And this type usually comes with feelings such as unworthiness and self-pity. A more internal lens could be like you wrong someone. Maybe you stabbed a friend behind the back and you feel guilt for that, and that makes you feel like a bad person. And since you feel like and think you're a bad person, that makes you believe that you're unworthy of things that a person might otherwise want, like love, success, happiness, because you're a bad person, right? So this is a more internal way self-hatred can garner, because it's you doing the rejection, right? And this has feelings of guilt and pity. Now, you hate yourself because you've gone through rejection, meaning A, you didn't give something to someone, whether that's love, loyalty, or your word, or you didn't even give it to yourself, right? Or B, someone else didn't accept something about you, which caused you not to accept yourself. Section 2, how to understand the reasons why you hate yourself. Love is familiarity. In order to get familiar, you must understand the certain rejections and see if they're external or internal. And how do you do this? Well, I'm not going to tell you to go back when you were born and look at every instance and go through all your memories like you're Aaron or something. I believe in the 80-20 rule, and that you should focus on the 20% or the minority that makes up the 80%, which is the majority, right? There's most likely dozens of reasons why you hate yourself. There's dozens of instances, but there's probably 2 to 3 reasons and instances that make up majority of that self-hatred. For me, it was the rejection of my feelings for my family, specifically my dad. He's gotten better now and I don't hold it against him, but still it was a big part. Second is the rejection of a relationship of a girl I love. I mean, I never told her how I felt, and I got ghosted, but like still it hurt because I got ghosted, and it was a rejection in the sense that I wasn't as important to her life as she was to mine, right? I'm past it now, but it's still something that hurt, right? And third would probably be my looks, how I look, my body and my face. And I'm not ugly. I know I'm not ugly now, but I ain't all that either. So, those were my main 3 reasons. Now, for you, see your main 3 reasons. Think about them, write them down if you have to, or just try to remember them as best as you can. Now, what I want you to do is see if they're external or internal, because we battle both of these in different ways. They're kind of similar, but ultimately they're kind of different as well. You find if they're external through seeing if a person or outside factor was the cause of the rejection. So for me, I have 2 external, because my family and the girl were the causes of my rejection. Internal is just you rejected something about yourself, whether it was something like your looks, right? Like how I did, I rejected my looks. Or you did something to someone that you're guilty for and believe you're a bad person. So you're rejecting yourself as a person, because since you believe you're a bad person, you believe you're unworthy of those things. So put them into categories, external or internal. Section 3, external. If it's external, there's 3 things you can do: understand, forgive, and reflect. It means something beyond you did it. And in Stoicism, it talks about how we shouldn't focus on the things we can't control. Rather, we should focus on the things we can control. I couldn't control how my family rejected my feelings when I felt sad, mad, or this and that. I couldn't control the girl ghosting me. And we must understand that. We must not hold it against these people. I still love my family. I just realized that they're simply regurgitating what they were told by their parents. And their parents basically regurgitated what their parents told them. It doesn't make you unworthy because people bully you or try to make you feel bad. You must understand that what people say to you is simply a reflection on how they feel about themselves. People don't bully you or try to hurt you because you're at fault. They do it because they're at fault. They do it because that's how they feel about themselves. Once you understand that, you can finally begin to understand that it was never your fault. It was their fault because there's something wrong with them internally, right? This has nothing to do with you, and it has everything to do with them. Another thing is forgiving what these people have done to you. After you acknowledge that the reason why they did it wasn't because of you, rather it was a reflection of themselves, or at the very least, what they believe to be right, like it's a reflection of their own values, how they view the world, how they were brought up, you begin to realize that you can finally start and have the capacity to forgive. When people wrong you or make you feel unworthy of something, it's easy to hold grudges and hate them because they made you hate yourself. And before we can forgive them, we must understand that whatever we think we are unworthy of, we are worthy of. We're worthy of love. You're worthy of happiness. You're worthy of success. You're worthy of all of it because you're human. Just like everybody else on this earth, you're worthy of it all. And you must understand that you deserve anything you believe you don't deserve, right? Of course, if you're doing the right things, right? I don't want you to believe that if you're being like a loser, jacking off and all that stuff, that you deserve $1 million, right? I'm saying you deserve anything you believe you don't, whether that's love, success, if you do the right things. And this brings me to my next point. Just because someone wronged you or rejected you doesn't mean that you don't deserve that thing in life. Life is struggling, and understanding why people treat other people makes you realize it's not a reflection of you, it's a reflection of them. And how exactly can we start to feel worthy of like these things that we believe we're not? Because it's another thing to say that, oh, you deserve it, all this affirmation bullshit, right? I am this, I am that, I deserve this, I'm strong, right? All that stuff. But it's another to actually prove to yourself that you actually deserve that thing, that you're actually worthy of it. And how do you do that? It's pretty easy. You do it let's restart this. You do it by doing things that make you proud of yourself, right? Doing hard work, hardship, progressing in your goals. I had a kid that was talking about how it's hard to love himself. And I won't lie, he's the inspiration for this video. And I told him that I wake up at 4 a.m., I work 3 hours and probably like 15 minutes before school. I end my work at around 7:10. I meditate, I go to school, I do a hard boxing workout, then I come back home and I'm still not done. I do another hard calisthenic workout, then I read and then I relax, right? It's hard to like believe you're worthy of things when you're eating chips, being lazy and doom scrolling and watching porn and all this stuff. But it's easy to believe you're worthy of things when you're working towards something with substance, a goal. Not only working towards it, but every day having conviction and loving the work and putting 100% effort in it day in and day out. That is all the proof you need to believe you're worthy of this thing. That's how I began to start loving myself in terms of external factors. Setting goals and working towards it with conviction and 100% effort every day. So by the end of the day, when I'm about to go to sleep, I can say I'm proud of myself today. Today was a good day. That's the goal. By the end of the day, you should be proud of what you did that day. That's how you begin to start loving yourself. By doing things that make you proud of yourself. Section 4, internal. When it's internal, it's very simple. Carl Jung talks a lot about shadow and integration, and it's kind of like that, but just less complicated. You have to accept your flaws.
Really, nigga?
Wow, I know, so cliche, but it's not really. When you hate yourself because of something you did, you must realize that you made a mistake, and not feeling bad about the mistake means it doesn't define you. When we feel bad about the mistake and we attach it to us, like, oh, I'm a bad person, I'm stupid, I'm this and that, it's now a part of our identity. And even though you feel bad about it and you're attaching it to yourself, like, you're still going to make that mistake. How many times do you feel bad about jerking off and you still do it, right? It's attached to your identity because you feel so bad about it. Like, you're still technically not going to change it just because you feel bad about it. It's stuck to you like glue. But when you start understanding you're human and you make mistakes And ultimately, you should feel bad for the mistakes you done, right? But feel bad about the action, right? The action, what you did, but don't let it define you. Don't say, oh, I'm a bad person because I did a bad thing. Just say I did a bad thing and leave it like that. Don't let this thing define you. Because if you don't let the mistake define you, it means it's not stuck to your identity, meaning you can change it. If it's internal because you wronged someone, realize this mistake doesn't define you and make the conscious effort to change it. Whenever something like that happens again, whenever it's like a similar situation, act different. Act how you want to ideally act. Because if you don't change your actions, you keep feeling this way because your actions are the biggest proof you can show to your psyche that you are changing. If the same thing happens, right? The same thing, whatever it is, the same thing happens, the same situation, but you act differently, you act the way you want to act, you start to believe that you're not a bad person anymore because you're proving to yourself with your actions that you changed. But let's say it's something like insecurity, like looks. Well, first, is it something you can change? If it is, actively do things that will allow you to change it. For example, I changed my body and I was obese and now I look pretty decent if I do say so myself. And my face too, since I was obese, it was fat and stuff. And I wouldn't say I'm a mogger, but I look pretty decent now. If it's something you can't change, like a disability or something, or like it's an insecurity, like a genetic defect that you genuinely can't change, right? Realize there's no point of dwelling on it. If you cannot change it, there's no point of dwelling on it. I've seen people with Down syndrome, midgets, people with cerebral palsy, autistic people do great things through embracing it. I mean, there's a literal like comedian that's a midget, right? And the butt of his jokes a lot of the time is that he's small, right? He basically uses that flaw for a lot of his jokes, and they're pretty funny, I'm not gonna lie, right? So there's like a plethora of people that have like things that they cannot change, but through embracing it, people accept them, right? Because if you don't embrace it and you're insecure about it, people are going to smell that on you. People are going to feel like, oh, this guy's insecure. Let's make him more insecure, right? Like, I want to feel better about myself. I know these words will hurt him, right? So I'll do that. I'll say these things, right? Because I know it will hurt him. But if you're like, I don't care, I'm embracing it. Nothing they say can hurt you. So people are just going to have to embrace you as well, right? A lot of the times, what we feel internally seeps out into the external. If you are confident in yourself and you embrace those things internally, it will seep out into the world and people will embrace you. Carl Jung has a perfect way on how to embrace. You have to understand that first, this thing that you can change is a part of you and it's always going to be with you. For your whole life, you're going to feel insecure and unworthy and everything in between because of this thing. I find that kind of foolish. One day or another, you're going to die with this thing, so why not embrace it? Why not realize this is who you are and you're not changing it? Or you can't even change it. So I don't know why I'm even saying that. You can't even change it. So there's no bother focusing on that thing that you can't control. But like, what can you control? What goals can you do? How can you help others? How can you be compassionate and grateful? These are things you can control. So why not focus on those instead? And what I want you to do is realize that you're lucky to even be born. There's a 1 in 7 trillion chance. I think just because you have something wrong with you doesn't make you like unworthy of the fact, right? You're literally a living, breathing human, and that is enough to be grateful for eternity, right? A lot of babies die. A lot of babies don't get to feel pain. A lot of babies don't get to feel happiness, pain. They don't even get to feel these emotions that you're feeling. So be grateful that you're even living in, this world. There's a 1 in 7 trillion chance. Do you know how small that is? So embrace that fall. Wow, I just ruined that moment. But anyways, embrace that flaw and finally begin to love yourself. So if it's something you can change, change it. If it's something you can't change, embrace it. I just want to add that I have free one-on-one coaching calls where I help young guys lost in their journey to self-improvement gain clarity and knowledge on how to actually start progressing in their goals without the uncertainty on whether they'll achieve their goals or overcome their roadblocks. So again, it's free. You just book the one-on-one call and we could just talk about whatever you feel like is stopping you from making progress and finally accelerating. So if you're interested, links in the description below this video. I wish you luck on your journey and peace.